Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers. I never imagined that a single conversation could shift the direction of my entire life. That night I learned otherwise. My name is Claire, I'm 32, and I used to think I had everything under control. I thought I understood love, understood how relationships were supposed to unfold. I had been with Mark for nearly 3 years. We were comfortable together, predictable in a way that made others quietly admire us without really noticing the details. He was thoughtful, kind, and always willing to compromise. I, on the other hand, had my life neatly mapped out in my mind: career, travel, freedom, maybe a family one day, but only on my terms. Emotional attachment had never been something I wanted to be bound by. And Mark, he never seemed to mind. Or at least that's what I told myself. The evening began like any other Friday. We went to that cozy Italian restaurant near my apartment, the one with dim lighting and endless breadsticks. Conversation flowed easily. Laughter came naturally. Everything seemed perfect, or at least it seemed perfect to me. Then Mark reached across the table, took my hand, and said something that made my stomach twist in a way I hadn't expected. "Claire, do you see a future with me?" His tone was calm, almost vulnerable, not demanding an answer but hoping for honesty. I froze, the words hanging between us like a heavy weight. I could feel the tension, his eyes searching mine for something I wasn't ready to give. Without thinking, without a pause, I spoke my truth. "You were never part of the plan." The silence that followed was crushing. I hadn't intended to wound him in that moment, but the bluntness of my words landed like a knife. I watched as his hand slipped from mine, the warmth suddenly gone. He blinked, trying to process what he had just heard. His usual calm faltered just enough for me to see the line I had crossed. "Claire," he began but didn't finish. He set his fork down, his appetite vanished, and he stared at me with an intensity that made my chest ache. I laughed nervously, trying to ease the tension. "I didn't mean it like that. I trailed off, realizing no amount of explanation could soften those words. He shook his head, a sad, disappointed smile forming. "It's not about what you meant," he said quietly. "It's about how it landed." That phrase hit me harder than anything I could have anticipated. I had always thought I could manage every nuance of my emotions and relationships, but his silence reflected my selfishness back at me. We left the restaurant in strained quiet. The cool night air contrasted sharply with the warmth inside, and with every passing moment, I felt the distance between us widening. I tried to fill the silence with small talk, work, traffic, anything, but he replied with monosyllables. The city lights blurred past the car window and reality began to sink in. I had gone too far. This wasn't a minor slip-up. I had made him feel excluded from the life I so carefully curated. And he had every right to feel that way. When we arrived at my apartment, he didn't move immediately. He sat in the car, hands clasped together, staring at the dashboard. The future I had dismissed, the one he had quietly hoped for, was slipping away. "Claire," he said finally, his voice showing a flicker of vulnerability, "why do you keep saying things that push me away?" I opened my mouth but no words came. There was no excuse, no clever line to mend what had been broken. I had painted him as someone who didn't belong in my life, and now I had to face the consequences of that truth. He got out of the car without another word. I watched him walk to the door, the distance between us feeling impossible to bridge. I wanted to call him back, to explain, to apologize, but something in his posture, the quiet finality of his steps, told me that words were no longer enough. This wasn't just about conversation anymore. It was about respect, about understanding that words and actions carry a weight far beyond the moment they're expressed. I stood there, frozen, as the man I loved disappeared into the night, realizing too late that my carefully planned life had overshadowed the person who had loved me patiently, flaws and all.